Going live. Boom. Am I allowed to sing as we go live, Randy?
Yeah, you want to sing like the match game theme song or the Price is Right?
I mean, I could sing song? Like Enya, or we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook. We're on the internets, Randy.
We are. Let me head on over to your NC Wise Man. There we are. I'm going to share that right now.
Cool.
And so we're going to be in good shape.
Good. So, all right. Hey, you're all, everything's up and running. No, Dean, I can't sing like Sinatra. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. And for those who don't know, I'm the Teddy, and this is the Randy over here on my left in the yellowish shirt. Hey, we're almost similarly dressed, Randy.
We kind of are. Yeah, we kind of are. Yeah.
Our special guest today is Cyrus Bush. Thank you for everybody for showing up. Thank you for everybody who watches on LinkedIn and Facebook and hunt us down on YouTube and listen to our podcast. We're grateful for all of our fans and all of our followers. Heck, we're grateful for our hecklers, because at least you show up and pay attention to us. Right, Randy?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I can kind of sing like Sinatra.
Let's just assume that for right now and leave it alone, okay?
George Sinatra.
Oh, George Sinatra.
Yeah, I met him years ago. Yeah, he'd be a neighbor of mine.
Yeah.
Randy,
introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself, and you can take it back for Cyrus.
We can do that. We can do whatever we want. Hey, we're coming up on Thanksgiving here in another week or so. So again, hopefully everybody has a safe and happy time, and be thankful for the things in your life, and sometimes be thankful for things that you deserve but didn't get, if you know what I mean. That came your way. Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. I run our professional center out of Winston-Salem most of the time, and also Clemens in the Man Cave the rest of the time. And today is the Man Cave day. So if you're a professional, you're in a job search, reach out to me. Services are free. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me through Goodwill nwnc.org. I'm there too. So just know that we're happy to help. Teddy and I got together, April of last year. So it's been a year and a few months now. When COVID hit, we said, hey, let's have some fun and do some stuff. So we did, and we're still doing it every Wednesday and Monday. So thanks to everybody who's joined in. So yeah, go ahead, Teddy, what you got?
Hey, so those who don't know me, and my name's right there on the screen, I am Teddy Burriss. I'm a LinkedIn sales navigator, strategist, trainer, and coach. And I love to help people figure out those tools and business tools, and do one-on-one coaching, corporate training. I have mastermind groups. I have books all over the internet and videos and courses and YouTube channels and all kinds of stuff, all focused to how to use LinkedIn as a business tool, because by golly, it is. When we don't use it the right way, it's a waste of time and money. So, hey, Randy, would you do me a huge favor and help introduce our special guest of the day?
I will, but first, I want to make sure that if anybody is watching us and they are so inclined, we'd like to hear from you. Where are you watching us from? Also, what did you have for lunch or going to have? And Teddy will monitor the chat box. So if there's comments or questions you have for our guest today, we certainly welcome those and the opportunity to have that discussion. So Cyrus Bush joins us today. And Cyrus, you and I met about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, through Goodwill Industries here in Winston-Salem, as part of the Business Advisory Council. And you had attended several of the meetings, and I got a chance to talk to you. I mean, you're a famous guy, so you talked to a lot of guys, right? So, hey, I'm just one of the many followers out there, but definitely impressed by you, and just when the opportunity to have you on the show presented itself, I'm really glad you could join us. Cyrus Bush, he is the owner of A Confident Performer. And that doesn't necessarily mean acting, right? Doesn't mean acting. So this is not going to be an improv, Teddy. This is not an improv show today where you're going to get to do your comedy routine, right? So just kind of put that off. We'll put that off to the side, but we're going to talk in some detail about EFT. We're going to learn what is EFT. We're going to use terms like tapping. And if Cyrus is so inclined, he'll enlist Teddy and me as guinea pigs to see what some of those tapping things are. But first, Cyrus, why don't you please, if you would, introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Teddy. I'm really pleased to be with you guys today. Y'all are infamous in your own right. I mean, famous.
Legend in our own mind. Right?
Legend in your own mind. Yeah.
That's right.
No, I really am pleased to be here. I do work with people. I'm a retired hospital chaplain. We talked about that. And when I retired from chaplaincy a couple of years ago, I wanted to continue helping people. I have an imperative. It feels like I have an imperative to help people. And also, if anybody is approaching retirement or in retirement,
Yeah.
I think it's important to have something significant to do with your life rather than just to sit down in a rocking chair. I think that's a recipe for bad health and premature death. So I thought, what can I do to be of service in the world? And while I was in chaplaincy, I did discover this modality. It's called tapping, emotional freedom techniques, that I studied quite extensively, and I used with my patients at the hospital. I used it with family members, and I used it with myself. And so I decided to establish a practice to become an entrepreneur and hang up my shingle, as it were, and realized there's a lot involved in becoming an entrepreneur. There's the need to learn to use LinkedIn, and all the technical things you have to do, and the different hats you have to wear. And so I've been thankful that I know how to use tapping to calm the stress level in my own mind and body. But I work with folks who are carrying excess stress. I work with people who are carrying baggage from things that may have happened in childhood, and I help them find ways to release that so that they can enjoy their lives, so they can enjoy their work more.
So, and again, our show is geared toward professionals, and whether you're a job hunter or going to be a job hunter down the road, I mean, there's stress in life, and we carry baggage too. Let's face it. Let's say somebody got fired, and the stress that goes, and the guilt that can go, and the anger, and all of those emotions that can surround bad things. So we're going to talk in some more detail. And again, if you have questions for Cyrus, please put those in the chat box. So we're going to cover a topic called EFT. And that is new to me. I had not heard of emotional freedom techniques and also tapping. But first, I'd be remiss. I always ask the why question. And you kind of touched on that already. So if there's any more you want to talk about the why, what it was that kind of spurred on or drove you toward doing what you do in this next chapter in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I did touch on it pretty much, but
yeah,
I realized that there are a lot of people who hold themselves back. When I discovered this modality, I'd been asked to do a presentation for the YMCA in Thomasville. And I have a degree in vocal performance. I've sung recitals and concerts, and I play the piano for worship services, and I'm not a stranger to performance, but I was freaking out at the prospects of talking to some people in a room at the YMCA. And so a friend of mine that I went to college with said, "Cyrus, I've got this technique that might help you." And so she introduced it to me. And then I realized this is a wonderful gift for the people I work with. And so I love helping folks, and I love seeing people release anxiety and limiting belief and self-doubt so that they can move forward.
Interesting. Yeah. And so EFT, let's first define what that is. So EFT, what is that from your perspective?
Okay. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And I think we all probably long for emotional freedom if you feel constricted. And it's a tool that was developed by two people. Roger Callahan was a psychologist, and he discovered that if his client tapped on this acupressure point while talking about this phobia, the fear of water, it made it disappear. Nobody had ever realized that the two could be combined. And so he had a student later on who tweaked this tapping thing and increased it and expanded it and called it emotional freedom techniques as opposed to thought-filled therapy, which was the first thing. And so it's used for a wide variety of things: PTSD, childhood traumas, fear of performance, and that sort of things. So if you're talking about going in for a job interview, you're freaking out because you're afraid that you won't show up well. A lot of this stuff can be addressed by using this tool.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be amazing, because I tell you what, public speaking is, and I'll put interviewing as part of that, because it's engaging with perhaps a panel, or certainly engaging with people that you're not, well, let's say there's a lot to lose. There's a lot at stake. And that whole public speaking thing can terrify people. I don't know statistically, but it ranks up there with the big phobias. And fortunately, I don't have that. I don't have that. I have more than my share of phobias. I got to tell you, I'm human. That's not one of them, but it is for a lot of folks. So if that's a problem you have, or other phobias out there, and if you feel okay about putting them in the chat box, put them in there. So I'm wondering, does EFT and this tapping, are there different modes of tapping or different places to tap based on the nature of the fear?
That's a great question. And originally, Roger Callahan discovered that there were certain points that worked for various problems. But then when Gary Craig decided to homogenize things, he would tap all of the main points, and not worrying that you get the right point, because you're going to get it in the grand scheme of things. I wanted to mention to you, this thing of tapping acupressure points has been done. There's been a 10-year study done at Harvard to show what it does. So there's scientific proof that tapping acupressure points lowers cortisol and adrenaline. And these things that get pumped into our system when we're afraid, if the fight, flight gets triggered, our amygdala goes haywire, it's trying to protect us. So it gives us the extra adrenaline so we can run or fight or whatever needs to be done. But if it's just a phone call that's triggering that, then you're left with all this excess cortisol and adrenaline coursing through your body, causing physical problems with heart, blood pressure, weight gain, all these things.
So we want to engage our parasympathetic system.
Yes, we do. We certainly do.
Thank you, Melissa.
Cyrus, he pays attention to our other guests, buddy. He's paying attention to you, man.
Eddie, you're blowing it, man. I was a neuroscientist before I decided to take up being a media major. So
really, no, I didn't quite know what. I had never heard about the parasympathetic nervous system until I started studying EFT. And I learned that when it's engaged, your body's producing DHEA, which is the compound that is needed for restoration and regeneration of the body and for good health. And if you're not in parasympathetic, if you're in sympathetic, it's the fight or flights, you're triggered and you're ready to go, and you're not really producing the healing hormones that are needed for your body when that's going on.
Well, and just in full disclosure, we've had Melissa Hughes twice here as a guest, and she is a neuroscientist. And she is amazing at taking the geeky, techie stuff that is all brain stuff and dumbing it down so guys like Teddy and me can go, hey, you know what? I get it. And here's how it impacts our lives.
Yeah.
You like that the dumbing down part?
I'm right there beside you, Randy. I'm with you.
Well, yeah, but and I've remembered that in the whole Parasympathetic, the parachute coming down and all that. So, hey, real quick, and maybe you mentioned this, but how long has this EFT been around, where it's been recognized as something that's a thing?
Okay. It's been recognized by the VA for about 4 years, but it started out in around 1980 with Roger Callahan, who discovered that this would work with his client. And then in 1995, Gary Craig brings EFT on the scene and lets people know that this is a powerful tool. So it's been around, it's in development since 1980s. I think way before that, the Chinese knew about the acupressure points and used it for all sorts of things. But then pairing psychology with the Chinese acupressure points has been since 1980s.
That's what I wondered, because I think about acupuncture and they're hitting certain points within the meridian points or whatever.
Yeah.
Teddy, here again, meridian. See?
Yeah, meridian. I'm impressed. God, I'm so impressed.
I was pre-med. Oh, no, I thought you were pre-law. Or
did you go to a yard sale and buy a box of encyclopedias?
Hey, even a blind squirrel finds the nut here once in a while. So all good. Now, all right. So the next, let's shift just a little bit, not a whole lot, but on some of the talking points that you sent us that you'd like to cover. Certainly one of them, and this is a huge one, is how do you help your clients build confidence and reduce stress? How do you do that? Do you interview them first? Do you just walk? I feel like a third base coach. You're going like this and tapping and at a babe, kind of thing. But what's that process look like?
The process, I have one-on-one sessions on Zoom or in my office, and we work to find the events from the past that have informed the decisions that the person has made about themselves. We were all born with plenty of confidence. When we were learning to walk, falling down, we didn't give a hoot if somebody saw us fall down. We were going to do what we needed to do to learn all those things. But somewhere along the line, things happened, whether it was in school, somebody laughed when you were reading out loud, or parents or siblings said something and you started doubting yourself. And so you made decisions that it's not safe to speak up. It's not safe to be seen. And so people decide it's just safer to hold myself back and not risk being rejected, not risk being made a fool of. And so I help people locate those memories, do some emotional work, tapping on those, reducing the intensity around those so that they become more of a historical event rather than something that triggers and hooks them anymore. And I also remind people to review your previous successes. We've all done things in our life that we can look at. Oh yeah, I learned to speak. I learned a foreign language. I learned to ride a bicycle. I learned to drive a car. There are lots of things that we've done that we can look at as successes and to build confidence.
So Cyrus, Lisa dropped in the chat, and I won't use last names. This is a public conversation. But Lisa dropped in the chat when I asked the question, what's your biggest fear in your career or even in your life? And Lisa said one of her biggest fears is not living up to the expectation of her boss. Now, based on what you just said, Cyrus, I would challenge Lisa if I was her coach in this context. Lisa, how often have you met or exceeded the expectations of your boss? Back at you.
That's really good.
I get paid for this stuff.
Whew, dang. And you deserve every bit of it. I was listening. I was going over 3 of the big things that cause us anxiety and worry. And the biggest one is that I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And that's the biggest one. The second one is I am really different. I'm not going to fit in. I'm going to be rejected because I'm different. That's a huge fear that people have in general. And the third one is that I'll never make it. I'll never get the thing that I really want. Whether the thing I really want is to get my body in the size that I can be healthy and happy with, or I can make this promotion or get this job. Those are the 3 big things, in my opinion, that cause us big challenges in work and in life in general.
Yeah. And Cyrus, am I out throw another idea here? I mean, this is important to me. I mean, I love this topic because I think so many people create these barriers themselves. Mm-hmm. And one of the words that I hear all the time that people use in life is I am just X. Mm-hmm. They put that word, I'm just, which clearly says in their mind, they ain't much more than. And that right there is, I believe, one of the reasons people had these feelings that we're talking about. I'm not good enough. I'm not the right person. I can't do it. And I can't meet the expectations, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you, man. So Lisa, I'll come back to your question in a minute, but Cyrus, this is good stuff. Keep going, please.
Yeah. Well, so to summarize, I'm not enough. I'm different. I won't fit in. Mm-hmm. So I won't even try. And I'll never get what I want. It's futile. Why? I just won't get there. So those are 3 that I'm not enough. And what Lisa had alluded to, that could be kind of part of that imposter syndrome too, where are people going to discover that I'm really not in where I need to be? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Am I in a position that I deserve? And in that maybe people are going to find out that I really just don't have what it takes. And so I live in that fear that I'll be discovered or found out. Yeah. And so that's a real fear too. And that's actually something else that we had on a prior show with Melissa. We talked about that at some length. Yeah. So, all right. So it sounds like you sit down and conduct a fact-finding mission, essentially, of where are these, I'll call them skeletons or negative things that have happened that you carry with you through our lives. Yeah. And so, okay, so how long does something, is that a one meeting thing? Is this they fill out a form and get back to you? But what's that process look like? I mean, it's not just going to dump their entire life out in 10 minutes and go, here, figure it out. How do you process all that?
Well, I have an intake form, and the intake form has some answers, some questions that you can answer that can help me understand a little bit about your journey. And then when I meet with the person, whether on Zoom or in person, I do the fact-finding thing. What's the thing that's giving you pain or trouble in your life right now? I say it's like, look at the landscape of your life, and what is the thing, the biggest ugly dead tree that's sapping lots of energy from you emotionally and psychologically. So I start with that, and I want to go back and say, we have all these things, these perceived problems in our life. They're sort of like a table, and we have this table top, and it's like, I'm not good at math, or I'm not good as a musician, or I can't do this, and so, or I'm just whatever the belief is about yourself. And there are table legs that hold that belief up because of events that have happened. So if something happens, it props up this belief that I'm not good at this, or I'll never meet the expectations of what I'm not good at people's expectations. And so what I do is I help people cut those legs out from under this thing that's causing problems so that it can collapse.
That self-fulfilling prophecy, is that another phrase to throw out there?
Our words, where our brains are always listening to our words. If you say, I'm not good at, or I am just, our ears are always listening. And so if you say, I'm probably going to fail this test, well, your brain will try to help you bring that through. Or if my job is just killing me, so your brain will try to give you a solution. Oh, let's give you diarrhea so you don't have to go into work tomorrow. Give you some relief from your horrible boss or whatever. Our ears, this was a big aha moment for me when I realized that my ears are listening to the words and my brain's listening to the words that I say. It's not just innocuous. The things we say are powerful. And I believe in positive affirmations, and along with positive affirmations are the yes, but. We can.
That'll tear anybody down in a heartbeat. Yeah, but. Yeah, but.
Yeah, but. And so, but I believe in the power of positive speech, talking about ourselves in the positive rather than the negative. And then if the yes, buts come up, we can do some tapping on that to address the yes, buts.
And we're going to get into the tapping. Teddy, do you have your tap shoes on? Is this like tap dancing, or is
no, Randy, it's not. Listen to what Cyrus has to share with you, Randy. It's different than you were imagining.
Oh, okay. Hey, what if we don't necessarily want to engage with you to go through that process? And is this something that we can do on our own, or is it really? Yeah. How does that?
I'm going to show you guys something so you can experience tapping. Okay. It's something better experienced than just listen to and observed. Okay. So there's a technique that I call the Rake Technique. If you're worried about, perhaps you're going to need to go in and do a presentation, or you're going to have to do something, you don't have a whole lot of time, or somebody has said something that's made you angry and you don't want to carry the anger around, you focus on that thing that's causing you worry. And first thing is you take a couple of deep breaths. So let's do this. Can you think of something that is causing you worry or concern?
All right.
Got it.
Teddy, okay. I want you to focus on that, which seems counterintuitive, but I want you to focus on that. Take a big deep breath through the nose. Exhale. Take another deep breath through the nose. Exhale. Take your fingers like this. I want you to start at your belly button, and you're going to tap up your torso, focusing on that thing that is worrying you, coming inch by inch up your torso as you tap, not real hard like you'd be tapping somebody to get their attention. And when you get to the collarbone point, go first to the right, focusing on the thing that's bothering, then back to the center, and then to the left, focusing on the thing that's causing you worry. Back to the right. And when you come to the center, go back down your torso, all the way down to your belly button. And when you get to the belly button, stop tapping and take another deep breath. And then exhale. And you tune in. I forgot to get a number value of how intense the thing was for you, 0 to 10. 10 is the most intense, and 0 being no intensity. So if you can recall, what was the intensity when we started that little exercise?
So for me, Cyrus, I can't remember the intensity, and it's not like it's an earth-shattering issue that I have in front of me, but it's something I have to take care of. That, and for me, as you were suggesting what I should be doing and tapping up my torso across, back and forth, what I heard in my mind was, it won't be as bad.
It won't what?
It won't be as bad. I'm not saying it was earth-shattering change, but for whatever reason in my mind, as I was doing that tapping, I said to myself, by the way, you don't need your ears to listen to you talking to yourself, but I said to myself, it won't be so bad. That's all it was. I mean, and the reality is, and you know this, speaking to the choir here, 90% of the crap that we worry about never freaking happens.
It's so true. So true.
Yeah.
And what you experienced was what we call reframe.
Mm-hmm.
And the tapping, you hit a bunch, several tapping points, acupressure points, and it sends a calming message to the amygdala, just like they discovered at Harvard. Tapping up your torso and across the collarbone sends the calming message to your fight or flight center, and it helps you reframe.
Yeah. So Lisa dropped in chat. It went out to everyone, but that's okay. I still don't need, what if the climate of the workplace changes and the expectations keep changing? This bothers her. She worries about this. She's fearful about this. So Lisa, I'm going to throw out the challenge to you. Go through that simple exercise that Cyrus just had Randy and I go through, and then drop in chat what's in your mind. So back to you, Randy. Cyrus.
And I was kind of the same way. It was, if nothing else, relaxing. I don't know if I heard my voice say it's not that bad. And again, I'm the same way. It wasn't anything earth shattering, but I think it was relaxing, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. And
well, when you think about something, it can cause a physiological response. I mean, you've had this surely with somebody's told you, imagine getting a jar of dill pickles out of the refrigerator, right? And you imagine taking the lid off and smell those dill pickles. And then you reach in and get a big old juicy dill pickle, smell it again. And then imagine taking a big bite of the dill pickle and chewing that dill pickle up. Maybe drink some of that dill pickle juice. If you imagine these things, your brain doesn't know the difference between past and future. It thinks it's right now. And so you have more saliva that's produced. Mm-hmm. Your body's producing a physiological reaction to your thought. And so when you're caught up in these thoughts of fear and dread and worry, your defense mechanism is engaged. It wants to keep you safe. It's the way we're designed. And so if we need more adrenaline so that we can fight or we can run, then that's our safety mechanism that's going to work, trying to keep us safe. But in fact, in a lot of situations, it's doing the opposite of what we need. So we need ways to calm that response and reaction down. And this is a wonderful way.
I wonder too, I'm trying to word this. Let me use an example. I had prostate cancer years ago, and I've known a number of men who've also had it. Most of them had no idea. They didn't feel any pain. And to them, what I'll call the diminished urine stream issue was so gradual that they didn't know how bad off they were until after they had it removed. And they're like, holy cow, I never knew that this is how it should be. So I say all that to kind of lead into, you wonder, hey, am I imagining this stuff? Is this real? Is it whatever? Or am I just being a hypochondriac with this thing? I ought to be able to handle it. I'm a tough dude, right? I can handle all this stuff.
Yeah.
At what point do we go, wait a minute, there's an issue here? Yeah. What are those indicators? Maybe losing sleep. I don't. You tell me. What are the indicators to say, hey, wait a minute, we got a problem here. We need to figure something out. And there may not be. Is there a spectrum at some point where it says, yeah, you're losing sleep, or you're.
When people come to me, it's because they've realized there's not as much joy in their life as they want. There's more worry and dread and fear than they want to deal with, and so. Yeah, I think you're right that you can put up with stuff gradually, little by little, like the frog in the water, and you turn the heat up and it's not really quite aware that it's getting ready to boil to death. When the thing of losing sleep and the thing of upset stomach, all these physical responses, reactions by our body are indicators that we need to do something. Mm-hmm. And rather than white knuckle it, like, I'm a farm boy from East Tennessee. The first time I ever went for a counseling session, I thought I'd just given up the farm or something, admitted defeat that I couldn't do this by myself. Yep. And so a lot of people refuse to get help because they think it's a black mark against them or something, that they're not man enough or woman enough to do this on their own. But that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. So who are your clients? Are there certain demographic, age-wise, gender-wise,
I find that I focus on small business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals, but honestly, I work with people of all ages, really. Yeah. I find that more women work with me than men, and maybe that's because more women are more in tune with their emotions than guys are. But if it's an entrepreneur, a business owner, a performer, that's really wanting to let go of some of the negative self-talk and the negative self-belief and the self-sabotage, then that's my ideal client.
I got you. That, and it's been around now for at least 4 years, but certainly back to the 80s. Hey, we're about halfway through the show. Teddy,
So, hey, thanks a lot for everybody who showed up. You're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. Our special guest is Cyrus Bush. The conversation's about RFT and about tapping. It's about helping yourself to overcome some of the anxiety and pressure and challenges that are in your mind, for the most part, at least to start with, in life and career and in business. So, Cyrus, thanks a lot for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Randy, back to you, man.
Well, yeah, again, I'll kind of bring people up to date that maybe have joined in partway through. Cyrus, you've been in a chaplaincy role in, I think, hospitals most of your career, and also in the music arena as well. All right.
I for the last 15 years of my professional life, I was in chaplaincy. Before that, I was a music minister and a foreign missionary in South Korea.
Mm-hmm. What was that about London, where you studied in London?
Yes, I was a choir director in London, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
I used to live in Newark, Ohio.
I love it.
Anyway, it's pronounced Nurk for locals. Anybody from around it's pronounced Nurk. But I digress. Anyway, we're talking with Cyrus Bush, and you retired, and hey, I get it. And we've talked to other people that coach that next phase of life for folks. And you reached that point where you retired and you're not ready to die yet. You're not ready to sit on the porch and rock the days and nights away. And so this whole EFT and tapping, this is something that has been around a while now, but I don't know that many people are aware of it. So if they wanted to find out more, I imagine the Googles can help. Sure. But this is not anything, I'm guessing, that is covered by insurance, and is that in the works or what? It's
in the works. There's a woman in Australia who's doing the groundwork, like EMDR had the groundwork done by a woman several years ago, and now it's recognized as a credible means of treatment. And Peter Stapleton, who is the psychologist that I told you about earlier, is doing the groundwork that is necessary to get it recognized. The VA 4 years ago, or around 4 years ago, recognized tapping EFT as a tool that could be used, endorsed for use with the military, with their returned military. So there's a veteran project that you can read about on Google, and there are all sorts of videos on YouTube that you can find people doing demonstrations of how to use EFT for this, that, all sorts of things. It's really good for pain in your body. And a lot of our pain in our body stems from emotional genesis. When we encounter things that are more than we can digest emotionally, then it gets stuck somehow, and it manifests itself as pain in the neck. And sometimes the pain in the neck could really go back to the boss or the spouse or some situation, or the pain in the back then it would come from somebody not feeling supported. So our bodies are, I'm really digressing here, but our bodies are always talking to us. If you have pain in your knees, it's some people say it's because you don't want to be bossed around, or some other people say it's because you have a fear of moving forward.
I wonder what happens if I had those two stacked up. Does that mean both knees are going to go out?
I always thought it was just old age, and but apparently not. Hey, okay, so we all have different burdens, different fears, different what have you. So
yeah.
Let's say, and we have different pains. It could be migraines. It could be chronic, something in our stomach that is whatever. So for folks to relieve stress, just overall, can you give us some places to tap and why? Yeah.
What was the last part of what you said? Give you what?
Just places that we can tap. So, and we'll try to demonstrate that here.
Thank you.
See, there's no hair to get in the way. So if you tell people you got to tap here, there's nothing.
No, it won't be messing up your hair. I did want to show you and anyone else right now, and who may view this later on, how you can use tapping. So if you feel that you've got if you have some stress in your life, and maybe it's the fact that you're worried about getting together with some difficult family members next week for Thanksgiving, or, Christmas is coming and it can be a row or something, or maybe it's stress from work, or maybe it's stress from your fear about the COVID thing that we find ourselves in.
Sure.
So I challenge you to find something that registers stress for you right now, and see how intense it is on a scale of 0 to 10. How much stress does it generate for you? How much do you feel the stress? And as you think about that stressful situation, where does it cause a sensation in your body? Does it cause a sensation in your body? A lot of times when I'm feeling stress, I will feel discomfort in my solar plexus area, or sometimes in my gut, or some people feel it in their shoulders or the back of their head. Tune in and see where you might feel the stress, okay? And as you do that, I want you to follow along with me and repeat after me. And Randy, if you will be my echo, you just echo the things I say. And so other people can echo later on. So you just trust me. Tap right here, like on your karate chop point, and say, even though I feel all this stress.
I feel all this stress
from the situation.
From the situation.
And I feel it in my body.
And I feel it in my body.
And you know where that is. I acknowledge this is how I'm feeling right now.
I acknowledge this is how I'm feeling now.
And I'm open to the possibility.
And I'm open to the possibility
of a shift.
Of a shift.
So tapping at the top of your head, straight up from the ears. Tapping here, and we do a reminder phrase, all this stress.
All this stress.
Where your hair begins on your eyebrow. All this stress.
All this stress.
Side of the eye. The stress I feel in my body.
The stress I feel in my body.
Under the eye, when I think about this situation.
When I think about this situation.
Tapping under the nose. All this stress.
All this stress.
On the dip in your chin, under the lip. that makes me feel so uncomfortable.
That makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Make sure you're focusing on the thing that's causing the stress. The collarbone points just below where they meet, all this stress.
All this stress.
Right under the arm, 4 inches below the armpit. When I think about the situation,
When I think about the situation,
I wonder if it's possible
I wonder if it's possible
eyebrow, to dial back the intensity
to dial back the intensity
side of the eye. I wonder if it's possible
I wonder if it's possible
under the eye that there may be a lovely solution
that there may be a lovely solution
under the nose, an unexpected solution.
an unexpected solution.
Dip in the chin. I really would love to release the intensity.
Really love to release the intensity,
To release all this stress, or at least a lot of it.
to release all the stress, or at least a lot of it,
And send a message to my body
and send a message to my body
top of the head, that I'm okay.
that I'm okay.
It's okay to relax
It's okay to relax
in body, mind, and spirit.
in body, mind, and spirit.
Put your hand on your heart, take a nice deep breath. Blow it out. Just tune in to see what the intensity is, if it went up, down, or stayed the same. And it doesn't matter, it's just information. If it goes up, it means we're on the right trail. We need to tweak it a little bit and focus on some other aspect. And then, did something come to your mind, another aspect of the thing that's causing you stress, or something that perhaps could be done, or something else that needs to be addressed? So those are the two things we do afterwards. And then if the intensity is not at a level that you're able to want to live with, then you repeat this remaining stress, this remaining stress. And the whole time you're doing this, you're sending that calming message to your amygdala, the fight or flight center, which is slowing the production of cortisol and adrenaline, and it's promoting peace and harmony and the production of DHEA, the growth hormone in your body.
You know, one of the things that I found for myself, Cyrus, that you're causing me to remind myself about is that often the stuff that I stress out about it to whatever extent. And I really don't worry. I read a book called Stop Worrying and Start Living. You know whose book that is? Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
Okay, I read that book and it really changed my life in phenomenal ways. And one of the things that I got from that and from this conversation is that often we're so keyed up, to whatever degree we get keyed up about an issue, that we don't let our minds consider exactly where you led us in this conversation. Is there something else? Is there an alternative? Is there a solution I haven't thought about? Can this possibly turn out better than I thought? And we can't even think about that because we're so keyed up on what it's doing to us.
You know what's happening when the amygdala is hijacking the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is able to make really good decisions and plan for the future. I heard of a man who was on the way to the wedding of his best friend and got stopped in a horrible traffic jam on the freeway, and there was no way that he was going to make it to the wedding. And he was just freaking out, and he thought, oh, he was just in despair and all these negative emotions flooding over him.
Yeah.
When he remembered about tapping, and so he started tapping. And after he tapped a while, he looked down and saw his phone beside him on the car seat. He said, "Oh, Skype, oh, FaceTime, or whatever, So he called his another friend that was going to be at the wedding. And so even though he was stuck in traffic, he was able to be there electronically. And so because he was able to relax a bit, he was able to think more clearly. And that's often what happens when I tap with clients. After we tap the anxiety and stress down a little bit, we do a reframe. I wonder if it's possible that this is not really serving me well. I wonder if I could just release this anger. It's not doing me any good, and they don't even know I'm really angry about that.
Yeah.
I like that very last part of what you said is we worry and get angst, and quite often the other person may not have even taken that comment in a negative way. And here I am worried that I've said something inappropriate.
Yeah.
Eddie, I don't ever say anything inappropriate.
And Randy, I've gotten better at that.
I don't think.
Yeah, and another thing in this context too, Cyrus, and for our job seekers who are out there, we get so wired, and I get it. Believe me, I remember the days when I didn't have paychecks. I remember the days when my 401k was hijacked from me and I didn't have any money at all. I remember these days. I was so worried about all the things that I had to do to resolve this chaos that I didn't stop and put time into doing the things that I knew I needed to do to overcome it. And it's horrible to let ourselves get in those situations, but we do.
Yeah.
And these ideas are ideas to get us out of it. So
is this almost like a maintenance drug kind of a thing where this is going to be
Randy, no drugs, dude. No drugs.
This is not a one and done thing. In other words, this is something, it sounds like that I need to almost like exercise or something where
it's very much like that. Yeah.
It needs to become a part of your life.
It does. It really does. I was so disappointed when I realized that, because I thought I found this magic pill that was going to fix anything and everything. And it was a bit of a shock and a disappointment, but it's a very quick way for emotional self-care. First aid sometimes. Yeah. But if you do, there's a video that I show when I do my EFT training, and it takes blood samples from 4 or 5 different people and shows the clumping blood, the blood clumps if you're stressed, if you've got anxiety, and so it's not really flowing freely as it should if you're healthy and low stress. And so they take pictures and show the blood before and after these folks had tapped, and it's remarkable the difference of what the blood looks like before and then afterwards. The blood is just moving and flowing like it's supposed to. So there's a lot of research around what and how this technique and modality helps you physiologically and in other ways.
Yeah, so lowering blood pressure and other health related issues that don't go away overnight, but this can be a part of your plan to regain your health or get better with it.
Yes, it can.
I don't know. I mean, maybe other guys are like this too. So I'll wake up middle of the night, and if I wake up, then sometimes it takes me a little while to go back to sleep because my mind starts to think about stuff, good, bad, or indifferent. It's active and trying to have that mindfulness or to eliminate it. Can this help to
absolutely
kind of let your mind go into neutral? Maybe not the best word, but you know what I mean. So you're not getting wound up at night like, I got to do this tomorrow, I wish I could have done that yesterday, and oh no, what do they think of this?
This is not a perfect solution for that. It works a large percentage of the time for me, but if I'm getting ready for my workshop or some big something, hardly anything will make it possible to sleep through the night. In a situation like that. But typically, if I wake up and have a hard time going back to sleep, I do this thing of taking 3 slow, deep breaths. And I'm talking really full breath, deep breath, but expanding my lungs as far as I can. And that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So I do 3 of those. And then I do this before bed. Sometimes I'll do that. And then I'll just, no words, I'll just tap the tapping points. Then I'll take 3 more breaths, tap the points again, and then 3 more breaths. That's a wonderful thing to do before bed. This is a good regimen. It takes 4 minutes. And then if I wake up in the middle of the night, what I do rather than tapping, I've got finger points. You can tap on your fingertips, but near the finger bed. And so I just hold my finger up beside my fingernail bed and imagine that I'm tapping these points. Yeah. Right there, right there, right there, right there, And right there, and just do those. And the thumb, you can reach over with your middle finger and hold that. So I just hold those tapping points as I breathe 3 times while I breathe it. And then I imagine tapping around the points on my body as I hold the tapping points on the finger. That's a little bit complicated. I apologize for that, but that's what I do. And it works very effectively. So the 3 deep breaths, and then hold these tapping points and imagine that you're tapping the face, the upper torso.
And are there also, I guess, videos where you can understand how hard to tap and that kind of thing?
Like you're tapping someone to get their attention. It's not hard. It's just like you're tapping someone on the shoulder to get their attention. Yeah, and the number of times you tap, it varies. You know, you tap as long as it takes you to do the reminder phrase. All this stress that I'm feeling, all this stress that I'm feeling, all this stress that I'm feeling in my body. So that's how long you tap.
Okay.
Good questions.
Wondering about the crystal ball question here. Where do you see this EFT topic in the next 5, 10, 15 years or so?
It's growing. It's growing like wildfire. I expect in the next 5 or 10 years, it's going to be recognized by insurance companies for providers for people to get the service they need, and insurance won't pay for it. That's where I see it going. And I see more and more families, people in more and more families knowing how to use this so that they can help family members who may have problems or issues. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's where I see it going. It's only growing. I mean, since I first heard of it 9 years ago, it's bizarre how many more. When in Winston-Salem, I think I knew of one other person that knew or talked about EFT, and now there are several in Winston-Salem.
So go ahead, Teddy.
This falls for me, Cyrus, this falls in the bucket of, non-conventional, and I'm using the word non-conventional because that's what we call it today, non-conventional healthcare, where today, most of us feel that conventional healthcare includes a pill, a spoonful of something, and the visit to a practitioner. And in the future, I think what we're seeing, this trend, and tapping and EFT is a part of this trend, that conventional healthcare may not require going to the prior methodology of practitioner, may not require the prior methodology of consuming a drug. And that's going to do a lot to make our healthcare more impactful on our lives. Did I say that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Hey, let's hit this interview thing one last time. Is there if somebody's nervous about an interview and they know they're going to get asked a question like, "Why did you leave your last job?" And I was fired. So that's a fear. It's a real fear, the fear of the age issue coming up. A tip or two for the folks going on interviews. So
tune into what your fear is. Okay, is your fear that you might be judged because you're too old? Is your fear that they're going to ask that question? Jot the fear thing down, write it down on a piece of paper if you want to, and just focus on that. Even though I'm worried that they're going to ask this and I won't even get the job, I love and accept myself. All this worry that they'll ask this question, all this worry, all this fear that they'll ask me this question, they'll just won't even give me a chance. All this worry. So after you tap around a few times, this will calm you down and you'll be able to, things can come more clear for you, and it won't be unheard of to think of solutions, alternative. I mean, the way you're viewing yourself. And as you all know, if you view yourself as valuable as, this company would be fortunate to have me in their service. So if you view yourself, that you walk in with good posture and the way you're feeling about yourself, it's contagious. And so doing this tapping beforehand can help you get in touch with that increased self-confidence.
It can. Hey, we're getting that point in the show where it's time to wind things down. So Cyrus, let's look for some takeaways you'd like folks to have about EFT, emotional freedom techniques. What are some takeaways?
I think one of the main takeaways I want for each of us is to remember that you are enough. This fear that we're not enough, let that go as best you can. If you can't, tap out, even though I don't feel like I'm enough. So you are enough. You've always been enough. And then also pay attention to your self-talk. You don't have to follow the bouncing ball. You don't have to follow the little puppy that's doing all this negative stuff. You can put the brakes on and you can say, I don't want to talk that way to myself. So, and change the way you're talking to yourself. Say, and if you need to tap on that. And also, I love the illustration of Michelangelo. Someone asked him how he did these amazing sculptures. And he said, well, I just chip away everything that doesn't belong. And we are all masterpieces. We are all masterpieces. And so if we can do the work that we need to chip away all the negative self-concept that we've got, believing all the lies about ourselves, the things that have been holding us down and back, making us feel like we needed to be invisible so we'd be safe, then I would suggest that. So you are a masterpiece and you are enough.
Hey, I wonder too, we haven't really asked this and we have just a moment or two left. Teddy and I may have a short story to share, but if a number of these self-talk things happened in our youth and our formative years, I'll give you a good example. I was bitten by German shepherds on multiple occasions. So let me just say that if Teddy's got the Doberman at his house or he's got a dog, I'm going to be terrified.
Really?
I'm going to be scared. And so that's a phobia.
Come here, boy.
So what I'm wondering is during those formative years, is this something that is likely to be effective with smaller children who are in those formative years? Or is this something that is for adults who have the scars, in my case, literally, and try to work them through?
It's good for either. It's good with children. Yes, indeed. But it's also people who have phobias and fears don't have to be stuck with you. You can actually work on that and reduce the intensity around that fear and make it go away. So
interesting. It works, across the board. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Teddy, go ahead, Cyrus. Yeah, what you got?
I said there's another technique that I use called matrix re-imprinting or hacking reality, where you can actually go into memories and redo the memory. It doesn't make the old one go away, but you can do a fresh new one that is happy and peaceful and joyful with this technique that's a sister modality. Wow. Love it. It's cool.
They used to call that acid back in the day.
Oh, Lord, Randy.
But I'm too young to know about that.
And you never would have.
I never would have. No, I never dropped acid. But Cyrus Bush, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, buddy.
We really enjoyed that.
Really.
My honor. Thank you, guys.
We do learn. We learn from each other, and in our case, we learned a lot from you today. And so, quick story, Teddy, I have, and I'll make it up. It won't take but just a moment. And that is, as I grew up, you have that self-doubt, depending on, your parents and your peers and what people say to you and such. And you wonder, do you measure up? Are you, that imposter syndrome? And as you age, it either gets worse or hopefully it gets a little better. And sometimes all it takes is a word of encouragement from somebody. And I was fortunate enough in life to have had those instances so that, hey, nobody's going to die as a result, basically, and life goes on. It's a big chapter, and it's a lot of a journey there. And so be that encourager, because sometimes if I say, Teddy, I believe in you, you can do this, that can be the difference maker when Teddy might be mired in the muck, doubting himself. So don't discount the impact that you can have on other people.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'll echo that, Randy. In my life, I've been fortunate enough to have people, even in my adult life, growing my business. Yeah. I've had people who believe that I had the ability to pull this off. Go for it, man. Don't let nothing hold you back. You can do this. You can do this. So yeah, it's important to have those role models in our lives, those influencers in our lives. Hey, next week is Thanksgiving week. And Randy and I are going to we're going to make the whole week about gratitude in lots of different ways. And so we're scripting together our Monday conversation, and we've already scripted together our Wednesday conversation for next week. It will be with April Kelly. April she is an author, and she writes children's books today, but she's been in corporate America for many years, including used to work for one of my favorite companies called LinkedIn. April's going to come to us and talk about, gratitude with ease, growing your gratitude quotient. Really powerful conversations, aligns in many ways with Cyrus's conversations with us today. And again, Cyrus, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you all again. You'll see Randy and I next Monday, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday. Take care.
Have a good day.
Thanks.